Welcome to another episode of What's New in the Blue. My name is Ilya Matosky, your Vice President of Business Partnerships.
And I'm Anish Burry, your Vice President of Chapter Development.
So I really want to focus on the importance of today's episode, which is going through advocacy during Career and Technical Education, or CTE month, and preparing your written event for submission, highlighting the importance of CTE month and showcasing career focused educations in DECA's role in promoting leadership and career development skills. And then finally, I want everyone to keep in mind everything we're about to talk about will help you with the advocacy campaign portion of the chapter campaigns due March 3rd.
Thank you, Eli. Here's some ideas to advocate within your school and local community. Hosting a DECA Showcase Day, which features competition projects or community service initiatives that your chapter has done that DECA year. It just really shows all the projects and the effort that your chapter has put in to making such a successful year. And you can write a letter inviting school administration or local elected officials to come over and just, attend the event, see what's going on, and especially see what your DECA chapter is capable of. It's very important to keep the people that are approving your school trips and your DECA things in the loop. So this showcase day is just one thing. It's just a great way to, you know, advocate. Uh, Also, one thing that I did was spoke at my school board meeting. I basically wrote a little speech. I went up to the school board, and after their discussions, I went up and I talked about my experiences in DECA and how it's helped me grow as a professional leader. I just think that that really makes them feel appreciated for putting in that effort to making our program successful. And that's just my experience with it. I would talk to your advisor about speaking at your school board meeting, whether you want to bring up a problem or anything else in general. Just that's just a great way to do that. And also, you should there's a lot of outlets that your school probably has that you aren't utilizing enough. I would say like the announcements, newsletters, or social media posts. And when there's just so many students available to these outlets that are already in the loop with that, not using it to promote your DECA and shed light to what you guys are doing is just a complete waste. So what I would personally do is I would try using these outlets as much as possible to spread the message on what our DECA chapter is doing to really, just show the entire school and whoever is an audience to those outlets, just like what our DECA chapter is doing. You can also organize small but impactful initiatives like creating posters or lunch hour information sessions that really just covers all the bases and whatnot. When you are advocating, though, it's important to develop your message, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to say. And then you got to know your audience. It's very important to understand that a child and an adult are not the same, and an adult who's working as a carpenter isn't going to react the same way to a message as an adult who's on the school board. So you got to tailor your message accordingly. Like I wouldn't go to my friends and talk to them like I just came out of a business meeting. And at the same time, I wouldn't be going to the school board and I wouldn't be talking to them like they're my friends, saying yo and whatnot. So it's important to be very respectful about how the audience will receive your message. Also, make sure to get more people in the loop with this. So, what that means is maybe contact some elected officials, some school board members, and try getting them to understand what your message is as well. And finally, you got to measure for success. There are some metrics that you should set in place to dictate whether you believe that your advocacy campaign is doing positive or negative things. Using these metrics and just realizing what you need to work on or what you need to, adjust is very important, in my opinion.
Thank you, Nish, for all those ideas on how to advocate. Now, I really want to define advocacy in DECA, making your voice heard to local leaders, policymakers in the community, referring to these people as the people that you're advocating to. Tips for professional advocacy, how to reach out. A good way to reach out is sending letters. Using a DECA letterhead if you have it and formatting it professionally really shows the professionalism of the organization and really shows the seriousness. So as you can see, we're going to bring it up right here very shortly. You're going to have your street address, your city, phone number under it so they have an easy. And then at the beginning, you want to put dear, the name that the person you're advocating to, or dear school board. 3 paragraphs, your introduction being your first one, second one being any additional information that you're going to present to them, and then the third one being your conclusion. Then finally, of course, you want to put sincerely, first sign your name under it, and then you want to put your name in print, and then you want to put your title under your name. So again, going for this professionalism in a letter will really show that you're serious about going to the board and presenting to them. But another way to show that you're very serious about that is dressing for success. So I really want to put into it, if you have any DECA blazers, definitely use DECA blazers. It shows that you're from the organization and that you belong and believe in that organization. Us as state officers, we like using tan or dark gray pants to match with the blazer. We believe it looks a lot more professional. And I also want to mention, if you have a collared shirt, I would definitely use a scarf or a tie. They definitely make it look more professional and make it look like you want to be there. Again, I do highly advise against using boat shoes or any tennis shoes. Really just throws the whole fit off and doesn't make you look good at all. So instead, you should go for using any type of dress shoe and then having dress socks with that. So it really looks like you're put together and you want to talk to these people. So, what can advocating do for you? Advocacy can lead to relationships developing with your school administration, ensuring your chapter has the resource it needs. So, using clear and concise messaging about CTE and DECA's values to education really helps the school board or anyone that you're advocating towards, really helps them grab a grasp of what DECA or CTE wants. Again, you want to stay respectful, polite, and ready to answer any questions. Again, if you're respectful, it's always a known law that if you're respectful to someone, they're going to show the same amount of respect back to you. So if you're struggling on a question, they'll give you more time if you're respectful and polite, rather than if you're being very disrespectful, very angry at them, then they're definitely not going to give you any time for those questions. So I really want to highlight the power of storytelling also when you're advocating, using your own personal DECA journey to leave an impactful impression. What I mean by this is DECA has impacted many kids' lives through MDA fundraisers or even through the experience that you're gaining from DECA. DECA really helps with presenting, giving good presentations, and really helps with your mind think through things, and helps overall with anything that you really need for the business professional world. So you really want to highlight that to anyone that you're advocating to, as they'll shine light on what DECA is doing for the students that you're advocating for. So again, when you're doing this, you want to make sure you're using accurate language when you're speaking about DECA.
Whoa, wait, wait. What do you mean by like accurate language?
I'm happy you brought that up. So like one thing is that a very common mistake is that DECA is an extracurricular or like a club. It's really not. It's a co-curricular. So in my school, we do things called DECA Fridays. So if you're in a business, marketing, or entrepreneurship class, we really like every Friday to go onto the DECA website, look up a role play, and then our teacher will give us the weekend to make a presentation on that role play. And then we present it to the class and we get graded upon that. So again, we like building DECA into our education system and really using it as something as like an education source to teach students how to present and make presentations. So again, after all this, I do say you want to send a thank you letter afterwards. So regardless of the outcome, a thank you letter makes the organization that you're pitching, DECA, makes it look very professional and leaves a powerful impression on the people that you're advocating to. It'll let them know, hey, even if this person got rejected, we should still consider next time they advocate to us because they sent us a thank you letter and they're really respectful and appreciative of our time. So I do feel like these are all very good points to go over, and you don't want to skip any of these points when you're going over getting ready to advocate to someone.
Well, thank you for telling us about that. I just wanted to go over some practices that you should use when you're, presenting to the school board or whoever your audience is. it's very important to make sure that your presentation is clean, that it's just aesthetically appealing to look at. Usually an audience that's looking at a very cluttered presentation that doesn't look like it's very cohesive, it just kind of makes them less drawn and less attracted to what you have to say. So it's just very important, in my opinion, to make sure that your presentation is clean, it looks nice. There's templates that you can use if you don't, you don't have like a knack for making like aesthetically pleasing slideshows and whatnot. I personally use Adobe Express, which is a great tool to create visually appealing presentations. I use it with my projects, with my other presentations, and even when I'm doing an advocacy campaign on my own. So I was just using Adobe Express to make sure that whatever you're presenting just looks very nice and just very well put together. Besides the aesthetic appeal, you also got to make sure that what you're saying, that your content is very clear, that you're focusing on the problem, solution, and results, and that your content isn't all over the place. Make sure that the transitions between each section are very seamless. It's just very kind of irritating when you have the problem and then you have step 2 and then step 5 and then step 4 and it's just all over the place. Just be very clear, very organized with how your structure is, and make sure that your content is once again just very professional and that it just does a good job of conveying the message you want to convey. And finally, it's very important to like rehearse your presentations. As a DECA state officer, I myself have had to rehearse something over and over and over again so I wouldn't stutter on stage. And I still make mistakes sometimes. So it's just very important to rehearse your presentation no matter how well you think you know your content, just so you can have that seamless voice and that you don't stutter or look like you aren't confident, which again is very important. Your needs, hold your head up high and your chin up higher no matter what you do. Confidence will take you a very long way. And when your administration or whoever your audience is sees that you're confident, that you're saying these things as if you know it, it's just very appealing to them. And they realize that they can trust what you have to say. So remember, confidence will take you a long way, no matter whether it's in DECA or school or any aspect of your life. Just be confident.
I really like your point on confidence there, Niche. I do feel like having confidence really does help with a lot of presentations and lets you go through a lot smoother, as you said. So again, I just want to recap on some of the key points that we've gone over in this podcast. First off, the thing I want to go over is the importance of advocacy and effective storytelling during CTE month. Again, effective storytelling is shining light to what happens to DECA members while they're in DECA and really shines light to those people that you're advocating to on what it means to be in DECA. Another thing is, as Anish said, having good practices for the best presentations. Again, you always want to go over these practices, always want to rehearse for things. It'll definitely help this presentation go out a lot smoother and definitely help you gain a lot more confidence. I do want to encourage participation in the advocacy campaign by completing the 3 activities shown on the screen before March 3rd, which is when the chapter campaigns are due for the State Career Development Conference, in which the awards will be presented. Again, next week, we do have a good podcast episode coming up, which will be best practices for submitting written events. So if you're in a written event, I would highly advise watching this podcast and highly advise just going over it again, taking notes on it, because this next week's podcast will definitely help you out. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we can't wait to see you guys next week.